Okay, today we're going to talk about how misunderstandings come from being nuanced deaf, and being nuanced deaf comes from lazy or generic explanations. Okay, so what do I exactly mean by lazy or generic explanations? Well, of course, lazy being lazy, providing that short, convenient version of an explanation or translation. Okay, generic explanations, when an explanation or translation does not come from that deep contemplation, immersion. In other words, a series of a whole bunch of questions. Questions such as, does this explanation really reflect the nuance of this word or grammar form? Or questions such as, did I really spend time only thinking about how to explain this word? And did I spend time, therefore, observing people actually using this word or grammar form in real life situations? And therefore, did I come up with like a pattern of which how this word or grammar form is being used actually? Okay, and therefore, once again, does this explanation or translation really reflect that pattern? Okay, so if an explanation does not come from such deep contemplation, a series of a whole bunch of questions, then I would call it a generic explanation. Okay, and yeah, of course, that generic explanation could also be, in some sense, a lazy one. Okay, so now, if you do run into a lazy or generic explanation, once again, you end up being nuanced deaf. Let's take a look into an example. Okay, so now let's take a look at synonyms today. Two or more words that, yes, feel very similar or almost identical. Okay, so 슬프다 and 서럽다. Now they can both be translated into sad. Okay, however, yes, they are not the same. If you run into a lazy or generic explanation, then you fail to really understand the nuance of them, and therefore, when you use them, you keep on running into misunderstandings. Okay, so yeah, don't allow yourself to fall for lazy or generic explanations. However, the question could be, how do I know if it's a lazy or generic explanation? Okay, of course, there are a lot of red flags that you can look for, but one of them usually is more. Of course, not always, but a lot of times when you see an explanation talking about synonyms, what is the difference between the two, and you see the word more, that could be a red flag. For example, 슬프다 is like the basic form of sad. And 서럽다 is like more sad, like when you're in like deep sorrow or something like that. It's more sad. Okay, that's very lazy and generic because the exact difference in nuance is, yes, 슬프다 is the basic form of sad, meaning it's not necessarily tied to a specific nuance or function. Yes, so you can use it in a lot of situations. 서럽다, the nuance is that someone is feeling sadness. However, they feel like it's undeserved or at least too harsh. So, yes, when someone says, I am sad, I am in this sad situation, and I don't deserve to be here. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong to put me in this sad situation. Okay, or at least I did maybe do something wrong, but this is too harsh. Okay, it's not my fault. I shouldn't be in this sad situation. This shouldn't be happening to me. Okay, so that's the exact difference in nuance. Now, let's talk about a misunderstanding that could happen if you don't know the exact difference in nuance, therefore you use it wrong. Let's say I was drunk and my hands were slippery whenever I touched, let's say, butter or whatever. Okay, so my hands are slippery, I was super drunk, and I had a laptop. Okay, so let's say I pick up this laptop and I was just like carelessly throwing it up in the air and then just catching it again as if I'm juggling. Okay, so let's say I had a friend and he says, hey, you might not want to do that. You might drop it and break it. Yeah, your hands are slippery. You're super drunk right now. Okay, so let's say I say, oh, come on, it's just a couple of glasses of wine. I'm okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, okay. And then guess what happens? I do drop it and it completely breaks. Okay, so I'm sad because now I have to get a new laptop. Okay, so yeah, I wasted money. So that's sad. Okay, but what if I say this? 서러워요. 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 Okay, so yeah, I understand, everyone understands that I could be sad, but if I say this, my friend could give me like an awkward reaction, right? So my friend could say, huh? What do you mean you're sad? And what do you mean that the sadness that you feel is undeserved or too harsh? My friend could say, you kind of had it coming. You kind of do deserve it. It's not too harsh because I told you that you're super drunk, your hands are slippery, you might not want to be throwing your laptop into the air. You might break it. And you just ignored it and said, it's gonna be okay. Okay, so if it does break and you do end up in a sad situation, therefore, it is kind of deserved. What do you mean the world is too harsh on you? Yeah, okay. So in that case, if you really do want to say sad, you can. But I would have said 슬퍼요, 슬퍼요. Of course, 슬프다 being inflected, in other words, conjugated into 슬퍼요, its actual form, present tense, according to the rules of inflection route number 1, and the same with 서럽다 into 서러워요. Okay. So let's say, yeah, I didn't know the exact difference between the two. I just thought that it's more sad, which is a very lazy and generic explanation. Then, yeah, I also might not understand my friend's reaction. So I could say, yeah, I never said that this is undeserved. Yeah, I agree that it's my fault. I'm just saying I'm sad. I'm very sad. Why? Yeah, you can't even let me, yeah, express sadness. And my friend could say, no, you kind of did say that you don't deserve it. The world is being too harsh on you. It's not your fault. Okay, so we're both misunderstanding each other. Okay, so once again, yes, you can't allow yourself to be nuanced, Dev. And if you don't want yourself to be nuanced, Dev, be careful, be very careful. Don't allow yourself to run into lazy or generic explanations. Sometimes, not always, yeah, a red flag that will tell you that this is a lazy or generic explanation is when you see more when that explanation is talking about synonyms. Okay?